One day, Thomas was at the junction when Gordon shuffled in with some trucks. "Pooh!" remarked Thomas. "What a funny smell." "Can you smell a smell?" "I can't smell a smell," said Annie. "A funny, musty sort of smell," said Thomas. "No one noticed it till you did," grunted Gordon. "It must be yours." "Annie, Clarabelle, do you know what I think it is?" "It's ditch water." Before Gordon could answer, Thomas puffed away. Annie and Clarabelle could hardly believe their ears. I've been hyping this video up for a while, and I'm so excited to reveal my completed LEGO Railway Series Knapford Junction layout. It's taken about a year of on and off work and roughly 13,000 LEGO parts to reach the point where I finally have a nice display area for my LEGO Sodor fleet. My plan is to walk you through the main parts of the layout as well as some of the history and decisions behind the design. I began brainstorming a LEGO layout in July of last year, 2024. I wanted to model a specific location from the Railway Series books, and I ultimately picked Knapford, the junction between the main line and Thomas's branch line. Specifically, I decided to build the version of the station that was constructed after the Knapford Harbor development project in Book 11. The station in the books is much smaller than the canopied Knapford station from the TV show. Seemingly, TV series Knapford took after Railway series Tidmouth, while Knapford's design from the early books became TV series Elsbridge. Referencing the book illustrations, I drew up a track plan and labeled all the buildings and structures I wanted to build. The plan was always to have a detailed display of the station area, then run additional bare tracks elevated to match the layout height outside that to complete a loop so I could run trains continuously. And I have to say, my original vision pretty much came to life in the completed layout. 2 tracks for the main line run under a pedestrian bridge and through the station area, while Thomas's line branches off, runs along the outside of the platform, and continues on. The detailed display area with a LEGO ground base measures roughly 3 feet by 9 feet, and including the outer tracks, the full layout is about 4.5 feet by 13 feet, so it is quite large, and I have to say getting everything moved outside and set up to film was a significant effort, but I'm so excited to share it with you. We'll walk through the buildings in the order I designed them. I actually started with the platforms, and I worked out the track plan so a platform width of 12 studs would just about fill the space between the main line and branch line tracks. I built the top surface using tan tiles with white at the edges. The bottom walls are medium nougat, and I threw in some masonry bricks for texture, which you'll see throughout the layout. By trial and error during the digital design phase, and with a little help from math, I worked out a set of techniques for the slanted ends where the wall tapers using sideways slope parts, while the platform surface is attached at an angle by clips. I kept any gaps pretty small, and figuring that out paved the way for designing angled roofs for my later buildings. The platforms kind of have a modular design, as there are separate end and middle segments that join together by Technic axles. When attached to the layout base, the platforms are reasonably sturdy, although I'd want to fortify their structure a bit more if I plan to regularly use them separate from the layout. The next structure I designed was the 2-lane shed, and it was here that I really set the style for my layout's buildings. I found the book illustrations design a bit bland, so I took some creative liberties to add visual interest. The color availability of the long arch pieces led me to use medium nougat for the main structure, then I added reddish-brown trim and dark green windows. The roofs are black with white edges. Those white parts help maintain a clean look, as they cover up some jagged slope bricks that make up the angled structure supporting the roof. Much like the angled platforms, the roof sections are attached by clips inside the shed. I made sure any of my engines could fit through the openings, although according to the Island of Sodor reference book Audrey wrote to complement the book series, Toby and Henrietta would usually sleep here. We'll move on to the mainline station building. I did offer a brief sneak peek of this one in a video earlier this year. The building is built into a double-long platform module. You can see the color scheme and design elements from the shed that carried over, with the addition of an awning built from sloped parts with toothed white plates attached along the sides, drain pipes along the walls on either end, and a chimney. A set of stairs in the center leads to a road behind the station with flower beds along the back side. Initially, my design for the building was slightly wider and longer, but this size felt more appropriate for the smaller station look I was going for. The station also looks great on its own, separate from the layout, and I made sure the platform module could be adapted to slope down to ground level on both ends. At this point, I haven't modeled any interior, as I'm only planning to display the outside. The branch line platform canopy shares basically the same design as the station building's awning, except the top is bright light yellow. It was actually quite challenging to track down 80 of these slopes in that color. I don't think the demand for the part is too high, but they've only been sold in one set, and they're not currently available from LEGO Pick-a-Brick online in the US. I eventually ended up finding what I needed from a couple Canadian Bricklink sellers. The curved sections of the dark green supports are actually LEGO dinosaur tails. And we're on to the signal box. Nothing too fancy, it shares many of the trademarks of my other buildings, with a walkway along the outside for the signalmen and a set of stairs at the back. Along with the signal box from Clive Spong's illustrations, I took some inspiration from the signal box Donald crashed into in Breakfan, which is apparently located at Knapford. This building too is an empty shell with only an exterior. The last major structure remaining is the pedestrian bridge, which allows passengers to walk from the mainline station building to the branch line platform. The bridge spans the main line high enough for trains to pass underneath. I used this lattice fence part for the railings, and some ingot parts for detail and texture. Slope parts fill in any gaps between the horizontal and angled sections of the railing. There are plenty of other small builds scattered throughout the layout that were lots of fun to design. A water standpipe, benches, the station sign, signals, lampposts, a coal bunker, a set of buffers, a loading platform that I managed to attach at an angle using geometry and special right triangles, fences, and power lines to be specific. My signal design can be adapted to move up and down by a string, although for now I'm just moving them by hand on the layout. I was thinking of including strings between the power lines at one point, but they were a bit of a mess with slack, tension, and stability issues, especially since the poles aren't arranged in a perfectly straight line. So I ultimately just included the poles themselves, which I suppose the TV show did as well. I also made sure to add some vegetation, and I came up with 3 designs for trees, which I adapted from some designs I found online. I have a couple pine trees that use flower stalks for the needles, some small leafy trees with candles for the trunk, and a couple larger, and admittedly more fragile, leafy trees with brick-built trunks. I can replace the leaves on these trees with bare branches if I wanted to go for a winter look. Turning attention back to the track itself, I went for a fully ballasted look on top of a dark tan layer of plates to represent dirt. My ballasted tracks are very similar to designs plenty of other LEGO builders have used before, although I modified the standard curve and switch ballasting techniques to limit stressed parts. I may create a video on my ballasted track designs if there's enough interest, so let me know in the comments if that's something you'd want to see. The detailed track bed was so much work to figure out, especially laying out the dark tan layer so the tracks are surrounded by studs, but lie on top of smooth tiles themselves. I have given some thought to the possibility of someday filming stories with my LEGO trains, and if I did that, I probably wouldn't build a LEGO ground for each set, and I'd probably just add some ties to the tracks rather than fully ballasting them. But it goes without saying that the detailed tracks and ground layer look great for a polished layout. I also made an effort to design a track layout that was both interesting and functional. Sections like the mainline S-curve break up the rectangular LEGO grid look a bit, an effect that's also reinforced by the angled fence sections and loading platform. Despite some of the track plan's irregularities, I worked out the overall layout, including the outer return loop, so every single pair of tracks that connect together actually align perfectly from a geometric perspective, meaning I don't even have to rely on wiggle room. The only minor issue I've found with the track plan is that only smaller engines can make it into this shed berth, since it's so close to the curve, although I wouldn't expect big engines to use the branch line shed anyway. As for a positive, the runaround loop on the branch line platform actually functions like a real railway. Let's take a look. And I think that's finally everything I have to say on the layout. With my channel's 10th anniversary coming up in August, this feels like a fitting way to celebrate. Huge thanks to all my viewers and supporters. Obviously, a project of this scale isn't cheap, but my YouTube revenue and instruction sales went a long way in making it possible. I'd love to publicly display my layout and LEGO models at a show someday, and I'll let you know if any official plans to do so come together in the future. I'm not really planning to create instructions for builds I created for the layout, but if anybody was really interested in the digital model file for a building or something, feel free to email me and we can probably work something out. I'll also briefly plug that I'm currently looking to sell some Wooden Railway and LEGO Duplo Thomas merchandise. I've posted photos and information on both my Twitter and YouTube posts tab, so feel free to check it out if you're interested. This is definitely the biggest LEGO project and longest video I intend to create for a while, but I do have a few new LEGO characters in progress that I plan to reveal over the next couple months, so the anniversary celebration will go on. See you next time!